Good morning and welcome to this Licensing and Gambling Subcommittee being held on Thursday, the 24th of June, 2021. This meeting is being held remotely via Microsoft Teams due to the restrictions in place in relation to COVID-19. Before we move to the agenda, our first order of business is to elect an acting chair for this meeting, as the usual chair and vice chair are not available. So can I please have a nomination and seconder for a chair from the subcommittee members?
I would like to nominate Diane.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Hurst. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you, Councillor. Let's move. Thank you. As you're both in agreement, Councillor Price has been appointed as acting chair for this meeting, and I hand over to you, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Rawson. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images, audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council website at www.caerphilly.gov.uk. I will now carry out a roll call for attendance. Please can you announce yourselves as present when I call out your name? We'll do members first, please. Councillor June Gale.
Present.
Councillor David Haas.
Present.
Can I check the following officers are present, please? Lee Morgan, Licensing Manager.
Yes, present, Chair.
Kath Hopkins, Senior Licensing Officer.
Good morning. Yes, present, Chair.
Todd Rawson, Solicitor.
Present, Chair.
Rebecca Barrett, Committee Services Officer.
Morning, present, Chair.
Please can I check the applicant and his representative are present? Mr. See now I'm making a mess of this again now. Mr. Thavarasa and Mr. Grunert. Sorry about that, both.
Present, Chair.
Mr. Thavarasa, I can see you. Can you say you're present?
Yeah.
Yep, lovely. I also have a list of responsible authorities speaking at the meeting. Please announce yourself as I present when I call out your name. We were supposed to have had Inspector Andrew O'Keefe, but we've got now PC Adrian Jones.
Yes,
Are
good
you
morning.
here?
Yes,
Yeah,
good morning,
lovely.
Present, Chair.
Thank you very much. I understand that Deborah Lewis, Children's Services, is in another meeting and may be joining us shortly. Can I also welcome supporting officers from Committee Services who are present in the background? And I got to say this, they are very good. If you get stumped, they'll help you. Thank you all for confirming your attendance. Please can I remind attendees that if they lose connection during the meeting, please make every attempt to reconnect. Committee Services are on hand and will be able to assist you to reconnect if necessary. Please can I ask everyone to keep their microphones on mute until they are invited to speak. I should also remind everyone that the chair has the discretion to remove persons from the remote meeting if that is necessary. We have got some burly, what they call them, the people on the doormen. No, we haven't really. If you wish to speak, please use the hands up function in Microsoft Teams. We will now move to the agenda. Have we got any apologies for absence? No? Okay.
Chair, yes. Sorry, Chair. Lee Morgan. Yeah, it's apologies from Anetics, Assistant Licensing Manager.
Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Morgan. Declarations of interest now. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any item of business on this agenda, in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Please use the hands up function button to indicate if you have any such declarations. Right, if I don't see you, just wave your hand and I will get you. Agenda item number 3, determination of premises license application. And is this all right? Yeah. NNN 23 Shinrig Road, Nelson, CF 466DY. Mr. Rawson from Legal, can I hand over to you, please?
Thank you, Chair. Before members consider the matter before them, I'll firstly run through the procedure that will be followed for this meeting. The procedure that will be followed for today is that firstly, the licensing officer will present the report. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask questions of licensing regarding the information contained in the report. The applicant will then be asked to address the subcommittee in support of the application. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant and his representatives. Each responsible authority will then be asked to address the subcommittee in support of their representations. All parties will then have the opportunity to ask questions of each responsible authority. All parties will then have the opportunity to sum up. Please note this should be a summary of any information that you have already presented to the committee, and no new information should be introduced at such time. Please can I ask that if you do not hear a question or response clearly, that you ask the person speaking if they can repeat what they have just said. If you lose connection, we will pause the proceedings, so please make every effort to reconnect in the meantime. If you have any difficulties reconnecting, please telephone committee services on 07768 095 152, and I'll give you that number again in case you're jotting it down. It's 07768 095 152. Once all parties have summed up, the chair will then ask the parties to leave the meeting through the hang up or leave button on the Teams interface, and the decision of the subcommittee will be circulated by the licensing department within 5 working days of this meeting. That is the procedure for the meeting. If anyone has any questions in relation to those procedures, can you indicate by raising your hand now? No questions, Chair, so I'll pass back to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Legal. Over to Mr. Lee Morgan now from licensing, please.
Chair, instead of my voice this morning, you'll hear from Catherine. I thought I'd give you a rest from my voice for today's proceedings, but Catherine will take you through the report, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's no problem. Thank you, Catherine, for stepping in.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, I'd just like to welcome all parties to this virtual meeting today. Is to determine the application for a new premises licence in respect of NNN 23 Shinrig Road, Nelson. You will see in 1.3 of your report bundle, the application proposes the sale of alcohol for Monday to Saturday between the hours 8 AM to 10 PM and Sundays between the hours 9 AM and 10 PM. As part of the Licensing Act requirements, the applicant must advertise the application by way of notice displayed on the premise and by advertising in a local newspaper circulated within the Nelson area. I am satisfied that the applicant has done this in accordance with the requirements, and also the application has been advertised on the council's website. As you are aware, throughout the application process, representations can be received during a 28-day consultation period from responsible authorities and other persons under the Licensing Act. Representations were received during this period from responsible authorities, namely the police and children's services. A summary of these representations can be seen in 1.6 of the report. As you've already heard from Lee Morgan, apologies have been given from Mrs. Annette Dix, who is the responsible authority for the licensing authority, who is unable to attend today. You can see in Appendix 7 of the report, her comments were supporting those made by Headley Gwent Police. Following receipt of all the representations, the applicant was sent copies of these, which were agreed in order to promote the licensing objectives. In addition to representations being received from the responsible authorities, one objection was also received from a local resident in respect of parking, potential noise increase and litter concerns. The applicant responded to her comments, which can be seen in Appendix 9 of your report, in an attempt to allay any concerns. Members, this is just a brief outline of the application and its process. The report provides more detail for your information to consider when determining the application today. You will note from the report that the recommendation is to grant the application subject to the conditions set out in 1.10 or page 5 of the report. However, as you are aware, this is only a recommendation, and you may come to an alternative outcome once you have heard from all other parties here present today. You must also take into account the objection from the local resident who, even though is not in attendance, maintains her representation. Her objection can also be seen on Appendix 8, pages 33 to 34 of your report. Furthermore, in making its decision, the subcommittee is obliged to have regard to the Licensing Act 2003, statutory guidance issued under Section 182 of the Licensing Act, and the Council's own licensing policy. Chair, this is the end of my report, so I will now hand back over to you and take any questions that you may have in relation to the report. If there are no questions, then I would invite you to bring in the applicant and his representative to make the application. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Are there any questions for licensing, please? No? Okay. We now move to the representation from the applicant, Mr. Grunat, and could I ask you to address the subcommittee in support of the application, please? Carry on.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, committee. This, as outlined, is an application for an off licence at Shingred Road. It is most recently been a childcare centre, but about 20 years ago was a retail shop. I haven't visited the site directly due to COVID and other requirements, but on Street View you can see it's clearly a corner shop that's converted across, and as you might expect to find in such an area. We are hoping to reinstate it as a retail outlet, this time as a convenience store, offering a wide range of products, including alcohol. The word convenience store, or our interpretation of that, is that it is convenient in its locality, and it has a number and a wide range of products that we can pick up on your doorstep without having to travel distances to supermarkets or larger stores. So although alcohol will be part of the product offer, it will not predominate, and we cannot compete in either range or price against a Tesco or an Asda, etc. It is very much convenience. And one of the things that we have identified in the local community, that is my client, is that there is a quite a significant aged population who don't particularly drive, and for whom a shop that they can visit on foot from their homes would be welcome, and that's our principal target here. My clients are bringing a business into this empty unit, but are also bringing their family and are settling into the community themselves, and will be resident in the accommodation above the shop. So that the premises will be occupied by Mr. Favarasa and his family during its operational hours and out of hours. Concerns raised by those opposing, or the single resident opposing the application, are of a nature that nobody would like to see on their own doorstep, I can appreciate. And I hope that the committee would be comforted by the fact that my clients will literally be their doorstep. The issues of parking are not matters I would ask this committee to concern yourself with overly. Nothing in your application today, should you see, in your decision today rather, should you deem to grant it, would give permission for anybody to disobey the rules of the road, including parking and matters of that nature. My clients will not be encouraging it, and if it's witnessed and appropriate, would of course advise customers not to park there. What I understand, again, my highways knowledge is limited, but I could only see that it's on the corner of the shop, presumably to allow people clear view when putting out of the junction. So, you know, there are parking spaces throughout the area in the locale. The double yellows are quite modest. In respect of noise, we are willing to place polite notices at the premises to remind people to leave the area quietly. Miss Davies, in her objection, does highlight numerous occasions that this is a very busy main arterial road with traffic day and night. We don't use that as an excuse, but we do not expect that our customers leaving would add to the background level of noise that we would experience in that area anyway. Obviously, when people move away from the shop beyond its vicinity, that's a matter of personal responsibility. As I'm sure yourself, Chair, and other councillors, you would not be expected to be walked home and to see that you're behaved by a shop owner. But of course, we do take responsibility and do accept the influence that we can exert in our immediate vicinity in terms of noise, litter and matters of that nature, and we take those wholly on board. The police have made a number of recommendations, perhaps codifying the description that my client placed in their application, and you can find those at pages 5 and 6 of your report. As already explained, they are fully accepted and I think address a lot of the issues of concern that a committee would normally have or we would expect to have. They are all sensible measures. They are not measures describing to me a deep underlying concern, but would be reflect a modern and up-to-date trading operating licence. So we have no issue with those. The hours sought are modest. They are from the morning to the evening, and the alcohol hours tend to mirror the opening hours of the shop, so we don't have a situation where people can't buy all products at one moment. That causes operational issues generally. The background of my clients is that Mr. Favarasa has a personal licence, has executed the role of DPS for about the last 18 months up the road at Aberfan Post Office. Mrs. Favarasa will also be working in the shop and has about 3 years of experience in retail of alcohol in other outlets. They're both experienced individuals, neither of persons of concern regarding previous behaviour at all, or in respect of the retail sale of alcohol. We take on board the concerns of the residents, but we don't believe they are justification to refuse the licence. And my client, it has been shown, is willing to engage positively and try and offer reassurances where they can. Should you be willing to grant this licence this morning, which I'd encourage you to do so, we do not ask you for permission to cause a public nuisance. If the licence is granted, it is on the basis that that licensing objective and all other objectives are promoted at all times, and my client takes that responsibility on board. I feel that I would just repeat myself now if I go back, and I hope that's not too brief, but of course you may have questions, and my client and I are here today to answer those. Thank you, Chair.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Grunet. Are there any questions for the applicant and his representative? If you've got any, can you put your hands up now, please? No? Okay, then. Right. Thank you to the applicant and his representative. We now move to the representation from responsible authorities. Gwent Police first. Please, can you make a representation? PC Adrian Jones.
Good morning, Chair.
Are you
I'm
there?
speaking
Yeah,
on,
thank
how are
you.
you, okay? I'm
I'm
speaking on
fine.
behalf of my colleague PC Williams, who's away at the moment from the office, and she's the
Okay.
actual officer that's replied to the application. The comments made by Gwent Police are on pages 25 to 27 of your information pack. Gwent Police have no objections in relation to the application, and Gwent Police are satisfied with the conditions that have been agreed by the applicant. Therefore, there is no further comment in relation to the application.
Oh, thank you very much, PC and Adrian Jones. Are there any questions for PC Jones? I can't see any. No? Okay, then. Can we confirm if Deborah Lewis is present? Is she here yet? No? Okay, I'm going to hand over now then. Well, instead of to Lee, it'll be to Kath, is it? To you, Catherine?
Chair?
Okay,
Yeah. Deb Lewis have made her apology, so I don't think she'll likely to be attending.
okay.
So is it just me you wish to sum up now, or?
Right, we got to go on for that, haven't we? Yeah. Yes. If there are no further questions, I will now ask all parties to sum up before we retire to make our decision. This will be in the following order: licensing, responsible authorities, and the applicant. Please, can I ask, no, it's not Mr. Morgan, but is Kath to sum up? Over to you,
Yeah.
Kath.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Yeah, in summing up, I'm just grateful for all the comments throughout the process. Basically, I'll just reiterate what I've said and just refer members to the recommendation of the report in 1.10 to grant the licence. Obviously, it is for you to decide, members, of the outcome after hearing all the evidence laid before you here today. But that's it from me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kath. Can I ask PC Adrian Jones to sum up, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Obviously, Gwent Police have made representations which have been agreed by the applicant. We don't object to the application, so therefore we have no further comment.
Okay. I should have Children's Services to sum up now, but of course she isn't here. So I will go straight on to Mr. Gruner to sum up, please.
Very briefly, Chair, because obviously my earlier comments are still ringing in your ears. When you retire, I would like you to pay attention particularly to paragraph 9.12 of the guidance from section 182. This is a paragraph that talks about where expert evidence should come from regarding police. You've heard comments in support of the application, or rather no objections, and from other services. They are the expert in this area and they seem to be satisfied. I hope that would be give significant weight in your consideration. But thank you very much for your time this morning. We're very grateful.
And thank you very much to you as well. Can I thank everyone for attending today for their representations? Legal, please. Mr. Rawson, I think.
Thank you, Chair. In a moment, the Chair will ask all parties to hang up and the subcommittee will retire to discuss the application and the representations that they've heard today. I'll be there to offer legal advice and the committee clerk will also be present. The decision of the subcommittee will then be circulated by the licensing department within 5 working days of the meeting. Thank you, everyone. Back to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Legal. Can I thank you all for attending and a good day to you all. Please can I ask all parties to leave this Teams meeting now by pressing the hang up button. Go and have a nice cup of tea or a nice cup of coffee, whatever you want. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair.